Welcome to another episode of DevXP. Today we're back to pixel art, but this time with a focus on animation. And as usual, I will leave you with the voiceover.
Alright, let's go. But before I started animating my drawings, I had to determine which animations I needed. And to do this, I'll show you the example of the monsters to see the animations I thought of and which are implemented in the game. The first animation is the walk or wait animation, which is what the monster does when it can't see the player. A second is the chase animation, when it spots the player and runs in their direction. And the third is the attack animation, when the player is within striking distance of the monster. Let's move on to the animations the monsters undergo. The first is the damage animation. It appears when the monster is hit and is quite simple. A funny thing about this is that at the beginning of the game, I hadn't taken into account the fact that the player was going to attack the same monster many times, which would block it in this animation and prevent it from attacking. So to avoid having this problem throughout the game, I modified the animation so that it only appears once, when the monster drops below half its health. And finally, a death animation. Now that I'd worked out what I needed to do, I was left with the hardest part, animating. But I'm going to share with you my savior, an indispensable tool that allowed me to launch myself fully into animation, and it's this website. This website was recommended to me, and it's extremely detailed on how to create each frame to make the best possible animation. And don't worry, I've included the link in the description. Now, let's take the example of the skeleton to understand how I animated the monsters. Here's my beautiful skeleton. You might ask yourself one question though. Why doesn't it have arms? Well, it's simple. At first, I wanted to make a classic skeleton, but I just couldn't get the arms to animate properly. So I didn't want to stick to that idea and decided to do away with them. I did an extra head to give the drawing a bit of horizontality and width. And that's how I ended up with this magnificent skeleton. And in doing so, I realized that in the end, being attached to an idea really limits creativity, and that sometimes it's better not to be afraid of throwing everything away and starting again from scratch. Now, let's dive deeper and take a look at how I animate, using the skeleton as an example. The first step is to define the keyframes. The keyframes are the important moments in the animation, so you don't really need to draw everything precisely. And in this case, they're broken down into 5 categories. The first is arming. This is when the skeleton prepares to attack. So here it's a backward move, followed by a moment of tension. He'll keep the animation backward for a little while, so as to be ready to strike hard. Like when you launch yourself and get ready to take a big swing. Then he'll let go, strike, and wait. The longer you wait, the stronger the impact becomes. Another very important factor in creating impact is body movement. The more the body moves with the movement, the more you understand that there is impact behind it. The most important moment in the animation is the repositioning. That's when the skeleton returns to its initial position. And that's a super important part of the animation, because if you don't do it, there's going to be a lag in the animation changes. And that can look really ugly. So please, think about it. Once the keyframes are finished, you can add moments of blur to give an impression of speed to the animation. Personally, I added them during the moment of release, here and here. The result is this animation, when you combine all the elements together. Got a word of advice. Nobody is going to pause to watch the animation frame by frame. So even if it's not perfect at every moment, there's no point in bothering to spend time on it. The only thing that matters is that the whole visual is pleasing to the eye. Even if pixel art isn't my current priority, I'm in a Discord where there are regular challenges, and I always try to participate to keep improving. Because without that, new monster design won't be as cool as they could be. All in all, even if it's not the best work out there, I'm really proud of my progress and my designs. Because in the end, that's what matters the most. As you can see, getting good at something takes a long time. I started pixel art over a year ago, and I'm still a beginner. So, don't blame yourself if you don't succeed right away. Take the time to appreciate how much you've improved since you started, and above all, be proud of yourself.